Welcome to the High Level Wife Podcast. This is a space for Christian wives who love God, want their marriage healed, and are done performing, fixing, striving, or trying to control their way to change. Here we're going to talk about marriage God's way through right order, surrender, heart posture, and spirit-led transformation. This is not self-help, it's discipleship. My name is Chelsey Holm, and my role is to help you move from awareness into obedience so real healing, wholeness, and restoration can take root. Let's begin. Welcome back to the High Level Wife Podcast. I'm Chelsey Holm, your hostess, and we do marriage God's way here. And I want to bring to your attention the mind-boggling but common way of thinking and speaking. Complaining. Okay, how often do you complain, right? Like there's so much in our world that we can complain about. We can complain about gas prices. We could complain about the state of our world. We could complain about the fact that our kids aren't doing XYZ, or our husband's not doing XYZ, or yada, yada, yada. Or as we're aging, our body's not doing XYZ. Okay, we don't have to look far to find something to complain about. It's as natural as breathing. But there are two passages in the Bible that I want to bring to your attention that are going to call this out in probably a way you haven't seen before. But the first is, remember the Israelites? Do you know what kept them out of the promised land? Complaining. The Lord heard their complaints and he burned with anger and he said, You will not enter. You will not enter the promised land. So I want to ask you this question. What are you complaining about in your life that is keeping you or hindering you from entering the promised land, that's keeping you in the wilderness? What are you focusing on? Whether it's lack or you feel like it's not fair or whatever it is, what are you focusing on that is transferring over into complaint and complaining? And one other layer of this, look at your circles, because complaint is a very commonly shared bond of people, right? We can always fall back on complaining about commonalities as a form of connection with others. But if that's your circle and that's what you're engaging in, complaint, then it's no wonder your life is the way that it is right now. It's because you're focusing on everything that's wrong rather than training your mind and your thoughts and taking your thoughts captive to Christ and focusing on all of the blessing and God's goodness and looking for it so that you taste and see his goodness and everything. So that's the first one. So that's in Numbers. I was just reading these passages today, actually. I'm currently on a 3-year plan. I've already read the Bible all the way through, but it was a little bit faster. And now I'm on a 3-year plan, which is only a chapter a day. And I am loving it. It's called A Chapter a Day, Reading the Bible in 3 years, and it's broken down into quarters over each year. So right now I'm in the third quarter of year 1, and I got behind a little bit, but Numbers 13 and 14. So those were the reading from yesterday and the reading from today. And this is where it's talking about complaint. Okay. This is where the 12, yeah, the 12, I think it was 12. They were chosen to go and look, like to explore the territory where the promised land was and to report back, right? And what did they do? They saw these big guys, right? And they reported after 40 days. So starting in verse 25 of 13, at the end of 40 days, they returned from spying out the land. And they came to Moses and Aaron and to all the congregation of the people of Israel in the wilderness of Paran at Kadesh. They brought back word to them and to all the congregation and showed them the fruit of the land. Okay? So that's great. Like it's flowing with milk and honey and it's fruit and but here, verse 28, here's where the complaining starts. However, the people who dwell on the land are strong and the cities are fortified and very large. They're focusing on what they could see. Right? Verse 30. But Caleb quieted the people before Moses and said, Let us go up at once and occupy it, for we are well able to overcome it. Because what was he focusing on? He was focusing on the promise of the Lord to deliver this into their hand. He was focused on God, not on what he could see with his eyes. Right? And the people were giving this bad report. They brought this bad report back to the people of Israel. So when we move on to the next chapter, chapter 14, guess what happens? Okay, starting off the bat, chapter 14, Numbers. Then all the congregation raised a loud cry, and the people wept that night. Okay, and the whole congregation went before Aaron and Moses and said, "Would that we had died in the land of Egypt, or would that we had died in this wilderness. Why is the Lord bringing us into this land to fall by the sword? Our wives and our little ones will become a prey. Would it not be better for us to go back to Egypt?" And they said to one another, "Let us choose a leader and go back to Egypt." Moses and Aaron were really upset at this, right? Um, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. Okay? The Lord gets real angry at this because he heard them. He heard their complaining. He heard their complaining. Okay. The Lord said to Moses, "How long will this people despise me, and how long will they not believe in me in spite of all the signs that I have done with them? I will strike them with the pestilence and disinherit them, and I will make you a nation greater and mightier than they." But Moses, bless his heart. Man, I just love Moses so much. I love Moses because Moses is always like, "Lord, please don't do that." Okay. "For you, O Lord, are seen face to face, and your cloud stands over them, and you go before them in a pillar of cloud by day and in a pillar of fire by night. Now, if you kill this people as one man, then the nations who have heard your fame will say, 'It is because the Lord was not able to bring this people into the land that he has swore to give them, that he has killed them in the wilderness,'" right? "And now, please let the power of the Lord be great, as you have promised, saying, 'The Lord is slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love, forgiving iniquity and transgression. But he will by no means clear the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers and the children to the third and fourth generation. Please pardon the iniquity of this people, according to the greatness of your steadfast love, just as you have forgiven this people from Egypt until now.'" And God responded, "I have pardoned according to your word." Right? But there was a consequence for this, that none of the men who have seen his glory and his signs and all of that, yada, 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 shall see the land that I swore to give their fathers. And none of those who despise me shall see it. But my servant Caleb, because he has a different spirit and has followed me fully, I will bring into the land in which he went, and his descendants shall possess it. Right? Okay, so we see the difference. We see Caleb. Caleb gave a report because he was focused on the Lord. He was focused on what God had already said. God had promised this, so he will deliver it into our hands. But all the people focused on what they saw, and they saw these mighty men, including Nephilim and giants in the region, and they were focused on that. And they forgot who God was. They forgot his power, his authority, which is crazy to me, right? But how often do we do this? And what do? They turn to complaining. Complaining kept them out of the promised land. So, where is complaint keeping you out of the promised land that God has prepared ahead of time for you? The second passage that I want to bring to your attention is in Jude. So, as you know, we've been studying Jude in our small group since January, actually. We're almost done, almost done. It's amazing how one chapter has taken us this long, but so much to pull out of it. But in Jude, right, Jude is actually referencing many of these Israelite stories. But what I wanted to specifically point out is the false teachers who had snuck in among them that Jude was warning this church. Okay. And he describes the ungodly and their deeds of ungodliness, committing things in such an ungodly way. In verse 16, he says, "These are grumblers, malcontents, following their own sinful desires. They are loudmouth boasters, showing favoritism to gain advantage." But I want to specifically focus on that grumblers and malcontents. Okay? Grumblers, right? Grumbling and complaining. Same thing, right? So this was a telltale sign, a telltale bad fruit of the false teachers that had snuck in and was wreaking havoc amongst the congregation. So where in your life are you grumbling? Where in your life are you discontent in your situation, in your marriage, with your kids, with yourself, with what the Lord's given you or not given you? Because this actually is in line with false teachers and not the one true gospel. The one true gospel is about rejoicing, is about the fruit of the Spirit, about abiding in the Lord. Draw near to God and He will draw near to you. So, my challenge to you today is to bring awareness to the words that you're saying and the attitude that you're putting on because you're setting the atmosphere in your home, and you also have the ability to shift the atmosphere in your home when you recognize your grumbling and complaining is negatively impacting how you are a living proof or disproof of the gospel impacting and applying to your own life, and how you can shift this atmosphere in your family, starting with how you think, which informs what you speak and how you act, and how that's either supporting or denying the gospel at work in your own life. So don't keep yourself out of the promised land because you're grumbling and complaining and discontent. Instead, let the joy of the Lord be your strength. Rejoice always. Again, I say rejoice and abide in the Lord, so He will abide in you. He is the vine, He is the truth, He is the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through Him. I'll see you on the next episode. If this episode stirred something in you, but high level wife feels like too big of a step right now, I want you to hear this clearly. You don't have to jump ahead to honor what God is doing. I created a short guided experience called From Awareness to Surrender for women who aren't ready for ongoing support but know they can't stay where they are. It includes 3 short teachings, a guided exercise, and a prayer I recorded over you. It's going to help you move from awareness into real response. You'll find the link in the show notes. And if you're not ready even for that, don't rush past this moment. Sit with God and ask Him what obedience looks like next.